Hi everybody, this is Dr. Shujaat Mubarik, and this video is the extension of the last video in which I discussed one-way analysis of variance with the post hoc test, and in this video I'm going to discuss one-way between groups analysis of variance with the planned comparisons. In fact, what happens that once in analysis of variance, one-way analysis of variance, we are comparing a lot of groups. For example, if we have 5, 6, 7 groups, and we are interested to compare only whether the group number 1 is either different or not from the group number 3, and we are not concerned with the rest of the groups. So for doing so, one way between groups analysis of variance with planned comparison is a better choice rather than simply going for the one-way analysis of variance with post hoc tests. In fact, in the post hoc test, all of the groups are being compared with each other, but with the planned comparisons only we are just setting that which group should be compared with whom. So this is a kind of a specific and focused approach. For this purpose, a lot of number of researchers use this approach. In this video, I'm going to tell you that how we can, what is the basic concept of this particular one-way between group analysis of variance with the planned comparisons, and how we can estimate this with the help of SPSS, and what can be the interpretation of the results. So I hope that you could have got a bit of the idea that what between group with planned comparison is one-way ANOVA. So let's move toward that. For example, if we have the multiple groups, how we can compare them, or what's the way to give the input to the SPSS in order to tell the SPSS that this group needs to be compared with that group. So for example, in this particular case, we have the 3 age groups. Age group number 1 is, you could see on the slide, that is from 18 to 29, coded as 1. Age group number 2 for age 30 to 44, and coded as 2 through 2, and age group 3 coded as 3, which are more than age 45. Now we are in fact interested to see that whether the group number 3 is different from group number 1 and 2 in terms of the total optimism score. So we have the data which we obtained from the SPSS survival manual, and that data will be re-estimating in order to demonstrate this particular issue. So what we want to do is we want to compare the group number 1 and 2 with the group number 3, that whether group number 3 is different from group number 1 or 2 or not. Now in the SPSS there is a window which needs to be told that which group needs to be compared with whom. So for that we have to code the group in a way that the sum of the code should be equal to 0. Now for example, in this particular case we want to compare group number 1 and 2 with the group number 3. So what we do is we code group number 1 as a -1, group number 2 as a -1, and group number 3 as a 2. So -1 and -1 minus 2 plus 2 equal to 0. So the sum is equal to 0. Now for example, if we are interested to compare group number 1 and group number 3, so what we'll do, group number 1 is -1 and group number 3 is 1, so the sum is 0. If we are, for example, if we are interested to compare group number 1 and 2 with each other, and we do not compare group number 3, so group number 1 would be -1 and 2 can be +1, so sum would be 0. So this is a kind of a coding which we give to SPSS in order to identify that which group needs to be compared with whom. For more detail, we are going to estimate this on SPSS, so I hope you will be able to understand. This is our data. Remember that we are going to compare the total optimism score of the 3 different age groups, and we want to compare the group number 1 and 2 with the group number 3. So one-way analysis of variance with planned with planned comparison. Go to analyze, and we can go here, compare means. In the compare means we have this one-way analysis of variance. Since I have already performed this test, or the dependent variables were here. So in fact what should happen, that we should move here our dependent variable, this normally it should be here, age group, we should move our independent variable or the factor variable here. Then we have to go to the contrast. In the contrast, first let me just remove this whatever was previously in order to tell you that why we are doing. So in the contrast, in fact, we have to give input to the system that which group needs to be compared with whom, which we discussed in this particular slide. So here, for example, first we'll give the last group, which was the group number 3. So we put here as a 2, and then we add, then we put here -1, and then we add, then again we put -1, and then we add. So you could see, even if it can be other way around as well. We can first put -1, and then again -1, means that this is group number 1 and 2, and then group number 3. So now what we have told the system, that group number 1 is -1, group number 2 is -1, group number 3 is 2. So then we continue, we go to the options. Options, we need descriptive statistics, we click here. Homogeneity of variance, we click here, and we want means plot, so we click here, and then continue, and then okay. So this, the result is in front of us. I have just copy pasted these results on my slides. You can just see here in order to discuss the interpretation. So the first of all, we have to see that whether our test is meeting the homogeneity of variance requirement or not. This can be checked with the help of the Levene's test. The value of the Levene test should be insignificant, means it should be greater than 0.05, which is, in our case, it's greater than 0.05, it's 0.475. So we can see that the equal variance is assumed. Since equal variance is assumed, so we can now move on to the further test, which is a test of ANOVA. You could see here, that the intercontrast coefficients, if I go this in the contrast coefficients, it is showing 18 to 29 -1, 30 to 44 -1, 45 plus 2. So it's our coding which was given. Again, it's repeating that this was the coding in order to re-ensure that our coding was right. So it is showing that these two groups are being compared with this third group. Now coming toward analysis of variance, you could just see that the value is significant, which is less than 0.05. So this is showing that there is the difference between groups. As I told you in the last video, that this ANOVA results only tell that the difference is there between the groups or among the groups, but where does difference is, or where does difference exist? So for that we have to go for either the post-hoc test, or in case of the planned comparisons we have to go for the contrast test. So in the contrast test, we can just see that again this is group number this contrast 1. In the contrast 1, these two groups are being compared with the group 3. So in the contrast 1, equal variance assumed, this particular row, t value is 2.687, and p value is probability value is 0.007, which is less than 0.05. It's showing that the group number 1 and group number 2 is different than the group number 3. If, for example, we'll be having some more comparison, for example, if we'll be having the 7 or 8 groups, and we want to compare group number 1 and 3 and group number 4 and 5, so then it would have appeared here contrast 2 or like contrast 3. So then we could have seen the contrast 2 value in order to see that whether the second pair of the group is different or not. So from this particular test, we can just see that the group number 1 and 2 is different than group number 3. For the detail, we can go to the mean of this particular variables. Although we can just see that the group number 1 and 2 are different than group number 3 in terms of the total optimism. The mean positive higher mean value of the group number 3 is showing that the mean optimism score is higher in the old age group, but the difference is very minor. So we can calculate even the eta square, which would be around very less value. So it is showing that although there is a statistically significant difference between group number 1 and 2 and group number 3, but the difference is very small. So this is how we can apply one-way analysis of variance with the planned groups or with the planned comparisons in order to compare the particular groups. Thank you very much. Okay, one more thing before going forward. I would just repeat the summary of the test here. If you want to reproduce this one, and you do not want to go and click see that how I'm doing, so simply this is the summary of the test. You can just note it down or take the snap of this, and then you can do this one-way analysis of variance with planned comparison by yourself. Thank you very much.